Now I'm going to invite some cadets from a local detachment of the Army Cadet Force here in Morpeth to come and read some reflections, which I think you'll find very interesting. So I'm going to invite Lance Corporal Anderson, Cadet Dawson, Cadet Moore, Cadet Devine and Staff Laidlaw, if you'd like to come to the mics.
Many men and women from across Northumberland were caught up in this theatre of war, and we have heard today of the fatalities and terrible suffering. Even after VJ Day, the distances many had to travel from Asia and the Pacific to Britain meant that there were servicemen and women, along with now released prisoners of war, that would not return to Britain until 1946 or later, to a nation trying to move on from the war. On return, many were explicitly told not to talk about their war. They were told that their war was over, that people wanted to look forward, and in any case, the families to which they were returning had wartime experiences of their own. For many, the war became their own personal history, not to be spoken about publicly.
The impression was that although VJ Day took place, there weren't celebrations held like those on VE Day. How wrong this was. The parties may not have been on the scale as VE Day, but there were plenty. So what happened in Northumberland to celebrate? The many events included much rejoicing in Branxton. The village was gaily decorated with flags, and a dance was held in the village hall with a bonfire lit. In Berwick, a large fire was lit in front of the town hall and wasn't allowed to go out. All day, fresh supplies of materials were collected to keep it going.
In Tweedmouth, the sky was lit up by bonfires. Red, white and blue fireworks were set off. Open-air dances were held with tea, lemonade and ice cream. Sweets were provided for children, and the sum of £4 was raised for the Welcome Home Fund. This was through the sale of knitted goods made by the women of the estate, the equivalent of £150 nowadays. Spittal held their victory party in the main street, and there was a procession of around 170 children and adults. This was led by Mr. Henry Johnson, dressed as John Bull. The children's tea party was held in St. John's School, where they were fed jelly and ice cream. They were all given a shilling and a ride on the ponies along the sea road.
Further south in the country, the People's Park in Ashington had a flood-lit VJ night celebration. The light provided by the rich, warm glow of the enormous bonfire provided by the town council. In Morpeth, the victory tea party was held in Castle Square. Each child received 3p from the mayor. In the evening, a victory dance was held, and the crowd gave a loud rendition of the national anthem to bring the day's festives to a close. Up on Stop Hill Gate, there were children and adult sports races, with refreshments and a dance at night. Each child received 6p from funds, a further 3p from the mayor, and another 3p from Miss J. Stevenson of Stop Hill Gate.
At Blythe, there was a victory firework display on the promenade. Although the weather was cool, crowds gathered round the bandstand. There was music for all tastes. 12 dozen rockets were set off and chants for more were heard. When it was planned to end the celebrations, across in Bedlington, celebrations were held in several streets. in the form of the usual street tea parties, sports and dancing. The children were given 1 shilling and 6 pence, a bag of sweets and a treat to the cinema. The older residents received 2 shillings. A victory cake was cut by Captain Walter Russell. In Woodhorn, the colliery air raid shelter was converted into a dining hall, and children from the village and residents from the aid field houses held a tea party. The shelter was decorated with the flags of the alleys, bunting and flowers. The music was supplied by a wireless radio. After the speeches, the older people received 2 shillings 6 pence. For those not able to attend, they had their tea taken to them. The day ended with a whist drive and a huge bonfire display.